There is a specific, hollow kind of exhaustion that comes from being the person who never causes problems. It usually hits you late at night when the house is finally quiet and you look at your schedule for the next day. You see a list of favors you promised, tasks you overcommitted to, and meetings you never wanted to attend. Your chest feels tight. You are drained before the day has even begun. And the hardest part to admit to yourself in the dark is that no one forced you into this. You built this cage yourself out of 100 polite smiles and 1,000 automatic yeses. You agreed because the thought of disappointing someone or facing even a moment of friction felt physically dangerous to you. You thought you were just being kind. You thought you were being the good friend or the reliable worker. But there is a massive, quiet difference between kindness and self-abandonment. We have a lot of flattering names for this. We call it being the nice guy. We call it being a team player. We call it having high standards. But underneath those neat labels, the reality is often something much heavier. It is the deep, unspoken belief that your baseline existence is not enough. That in order to take up space in this world, to be valued, or simply to not be abandoned, you have to constantly over-deliver. You have to be the most helpful, the most accommodating, the most flawless in the room. This is the over-functioning trap. It is when people-pleasing and perfectionism team up to convince you that if you ever stop being useful, people will stop loving you. I know how deep this trap goes because I spent years walking right into it. I remember one specific weekend that broke the illusion for me. A friend asked for help moving out of their apartment. It was not a quick favor. It was a disorganized, last-minute disaster. They had not packed. They did not have enough boxes. But I said yes, because I always said yes. I spent the entire night hauling heavy furniture down narrow stairs, scrubbing floors, doing the tedious back-breaking work they hadn't prepared for. I did not get home until the sun was coming up, my body aching, completely depleted. I slept for a few restless hours, woke up groggy, and opened my phone. The first thing I saw was their story. They were out at a sunny brunch with other friends, laughing, clinking glasses, looking completely refreshed and carefree. Meanwhile, I could barely get out of bed. It felt like a slow punch to the stomach. I realized in that quiet, bitter moment that I wasn't a cherished friend to them. I was a utility, a convenience. I had traded my own physical limits for their comfort, and they had not even thought twice about it. That resentment is a heavy, toxic thing to carry. But the hardest truth to swallow was that the resentment was not just toward them. It was toward myself. Because I knew, even as I was smiling and saying I would love to help, this is what chronic people-pleasing does to you over time. It slowly erodes your trust in yourself. You become a stranger in your own life, constantly scanning the room to see what everyone else needs, what mood they are in, what you can fix, while your own needs starve in the background. You think you are keeping the peace, but really, you are just absorbing the war. You are taking everyone else's discomfort and storing it in your own muscles. And this exhaustion does not just stay in your friendships. It bleeds into everything you touch. Because when you do not feel inherently valuable, you do not just overgive to people, you overperform in your tasks. Later that same week, running on fumes from the move, I sat down to create a slide deck for a project. It was a standard presentation. It just needed to be clear and informative. But I sat staring at that screen for 8 solid hours. 8 hours obsessing over the exact alignment of text boxes, testing 12 different fonts, rewriting the same bullet points over and over until they lost all meaning. I was paralyzed by the fear that if it was not an absolute masterpiece, someone would realize I was a fraud. I was not designing a presentation anymore. I was trying to build an armor of perfection so nobody could criticize me. This is the twin shadow of the people-pleasing trap, the refusal to let yourself be average. Perfectionism is not about having high standards or a strong work ethic. It is about a profound lack of emotional safety. You deeply believe that good enough means about to be rejected. So you burn hours of your life polishing things that nobody else will even notice. You bleed your precious energy into the margins, hoping that if everything is flawless, you will finally be safe from judgment. You probably know exactly what this looks like in your own life. It is drafting an email for 30 minutes, rereading it 5 times, just to make sure you do not sound too demanding when asking a totally normal question. It is sitting in a restaurant with a group, and someone suggests ordering a type of food you genuinely dislike, but rather than endure 3 seconds of mild social friction, you nod and say that sounds great while quietly hating the meal. Or it is staying logged into work at 11 at night, making sure your status icon stays green, just to prove you are dedicated, even though the work could easily wait until tomorrow. It is 1,000 tiny betrayals of your own reality, all to keep the surface of the water perfectly smooth for everyone else. If this sounds painfully familiar to you, I need you to hear something very clearly, and I need you to let it sink in. None of this means you are weak. You are not a pushover because you lack a spine. You are this way because at some point in your life, you learned that being hyper-accommodating was the safest way to exist. Maybe you grew up in a chaotic environment where your usefulness was the only thing that earned you attention. Maybe you were taught early on that your worth was directly tied to your achievements, your grades, and how little trouble you caused. You developed these traits as a brilliant, necessary survival strategy. Your brain did exactly what it needed to do to protect you when you were vulnerable. It made you indispensable. But you are not in that past anymore. The war is over. You do not need to wear heavy armor to the dinner table. You are allowed to take up space just by breathing. The way out of this trap does not start with a dramatic confrontation, and it does not require you to suddenly become a cold, selfish person. It starts with the smallest, quietest rebellion, the pause. The next time someone asks you for a favor, you do not have to answer immediately. You do not have to let your automatic yes jump out of your throat. You can simply say, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." That single sentence is a lifeline. It buys you the space to check in with your own body and ask yourself what you actually have the capacity for. And when you realize you cannot do it, you do not need a 5-minute rambling apology. You can set a boundary without aggression. Keep it short, and if you want to soften it, offer a small, limited alternative. I will not be able to help you move this whole weekend, but I can come by for an hour on Tuesday evening to help unpack. That is it. You state what you can do, and you leave it there. You are not responsible for managing their disappointment. You are only responsible for your honesty. I remember the first time I actually tried this. My hands were shaking. I was terrified the other person would explode or cut me off, but they did not. What? They just said, it was fine. The world did not end. They survived my no, and more importantly, I survived the guilt of saying it. And when it comes to the endless cycle of overperforming, the cure is giving yourself permission to be beautifully, completely average. It sounds terrifying to the perfectionist mind, I know, but try it as a temporary experiment. I remember finally looking at those presentation slides after 8 hours and realizing I was losing my mind. The next time I had a similar task, I gave myself a hard boundary, 60 minutes. I would build a good enough version in exactly 1 hour, and then I would close the laptop. I would not let myself touch the font sizes. I would not over-explain the concepts. I would just deliver the baseline requirement. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. The presentation went fine. Nobody pulled me aside to say I was a failure or a disappointment. The only tangible difference was that I had 7 hours of my life back. The external outcome was exactly the same, but my internal weather had completely changed. Life suddenly felt so much lighter. We overcomplicate our boundaries because we overcomplicate our worth. We think saying no is an act of hostility, when in reality, it is the highest form of self-respect. You begin to see that true relationships, the ones actually worth keeping, do not require you to be a flawless machine. They have room for your fatigue. They have room for your boundaries and your messy days. If someone is only in your life because of what they can effortlessly extract from you, their departure is not a tragedy. It is a cleansing. Think about how you treat the people you genuinely love. When your best friend says they are too exhausted to come out, do you instantly stop loving them? Do you write them off as a terrible person? Of course not. You understand. You want them to rest. You want them to be okay. You need to start extending that exact same grace to the person in the mirror. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to leave unread messages in your inbox for a day. You are allowed to do perfectly average work on a Tuesday when your brain is foggy. Your worth is not a rent you have to pay every single day through exhaustion. Escaping the nice guy trap and the perfectionist cage is not a one-time event. You do not just decide to be boundary-oriented and suddenly feel great about it. It is a daily practice of choosing your own mild discomfort over someone else's convenience. It will feel incredibly wrong at first. When you start saying no, the guilt will rush in like a flood. Let it. Expect it. Guilt is just the ghost of your old survival mechanics realizing they are finally out of a job. Let the guilt sit there in the passenger seat, but do not let it drive the car. Over time, the guilt gets quieter. The panic of being average starts to fade. One day you will wake up and you will not immediately scan your mind for who you need to please today. You will not look at your to-do list with a heavy sense of dread. You will look at a piece of work you did, see that it is not perfect, and you will simply smile, close the laptop, and walk away. You will realize that your life, perhaps for the first time, actually belongs to you. You do not have to be the savior. You do not have to be the flawless achiever. You just get to be here. And as the quiet settles in, you will finally realize that being here is exactly enough.